Kitco Mining's special coverage of Resourcing Tomorrow is brought to you by Discovery Group.
Hello and welcome back to Kitco Mining with me, Paul Harris. We're on Mines and Money in London. I'm joined this morning by Jim Paterson, co-founder of the Discovery Group. Good morning, Jim.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. We're on day 3 here at the Mines and Money London. It's been a good event for us so far. Let's start off. Who or what is the Discovery Group, apart from being our sponsor here this year?
Yeah, well, I like to start by saying that the conference is great. Discovery Group is a sponsor, and we have a great booth. We probably have the best booth in the show, right at the top of the steps. Great traffic, and the energy is really good. Lots of great meetings.
Okay, so but who or what is the Discovery Group?
Discovery Group is an alliance of public companies. 8 public companies right now. We have a capital pool company and some private companies. But basically, we're a brand, we're a platform, we're an incubator. And this brand and platform allows us to attract great people. Those great people attract great projects. Projects attract capital, and that capital is used to execute on exploration programs. Each of the companies in the group are individually managed. They have their own board of directors, and they have their own investor bases. But generally in the early stages, because of our brand, we're able to attract good people and capital. And then from there, the shareholder base evolves based on commodity, stage of production, and success.
Okay, you've had some big successes over the years. Kaminak coffee project was one of those. But I imagine the highlight of this year was Great Bear Resources being bought by Kinross Gold for, 1.4 billion Canadian. What have been some of the other highlights of the year for you?
Well, you left 400 million Canadian on the table. It was 1.8.
Oh, 1.8, sorry.
Yeah. So, that's a very big deal. And actually, in aggregate, that deal generated almost 2 billion because just before we sold the company to Kinross, or before the company was sold to Kinross, the company spun out 2 shareholders, a 2% NSR on the same gold project, which was called Dixie. And that company that was formed through that spin out became Great Bear Royalties Corp. And it was sold to Royal Gold, the big royalties company, for 200 million this year as well. So in aggregate, that was a $2 billion deal that 6 years ago was a 1 million market cap Canadian company with 0 cash.
I think that was about the first time I met Chris Taylor, who was the president and CEO. It was way back when, right at the start, when it was sub $1. And yeah. Chris has done very well, and he's definitely one of the rising stars of the industry. And that goes to your comment about identifying talent.
Well, it was not just Chris, it was Bob initially. Bob Singh and Chris Taylor worked together, and they weren't in our office. And after meeting them, we just absolutely fell in love. These guys were top notch, and we wanted them to join our group. And we were lucky enough to do so. And really, we wrapped some of the framework around them. We added some directors to their board, but they took it from there. And they're spectacular business people and geologists. I just want to note that tonight they're actually shortlisted. I think they're shortlisted for 3 different potential awards at the gala tonight at the award ceremony. So we'll see if Great Bear takes home some gold.
And that's going to be pretty exciting. Okay, so who are some of the other companies under the Discovery umbrella at the moment?
Well, a conference darling here is Brandon McDonald, because within the last couple of days, Fireweed announced that the Lundin family had come in a big way to Fireweed Metals. And their investment actually drove a lot of additional interest. So I think they announced a $27 million deal a couple of days ago, and they upsized to 35. I think the order book is stuffed full, and some people will be getting haircuts. I mean, it's really, really driven a lot of interest to the Fireweed story.
We had Brandon McDonald on yesterday to talk about that and talk about his sort of Dragon Den moment, going to Switzerland to sit down with all the Lundins and thrash out that deal. And I think he said, you're right, there's much more money on the table than they took. I think he said there's about 50 million that he could have taken.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how it works when you announce the financing, if the price of the stock moves higher, suddenly everybody who didn't want to do the financing before has always wanted to, and it really supports you forever. So I think that order book will really grow as the price increases, which is happening. And so Brandon's going to have a Hollywood problem here, which is fabulous. And they're actually shortlisted tonight at the awards gala as well. So maybe he'll take home a shiny trophy.
Excellent. Now, The Discovery Group is active across a range of metals, gold, copper, platinum, silver, zinc. Is that a conscious effort at diversification, or is that more a factor or symptom of the people you invest in, the companies you invest in, and the directions they go?
Yeah, I think we're commodity agnostic. There's certain areas of the spectrum where we avoid just because we lack expertise. But that can change if an expert comes to the group with a team and really wants funding and we have confidence in them. So that can change and has changed over the years. But in this case, really, it's focused on the people and their expertise. And we do have a wide range. We don't have any diamonds in the group right now, but we have uranium, as you said, and palladium and platinum. And it's just really based on what the team can do with the project and what opportunities are brought to the group. Okay.
This year has been a difficult year for juniors from a financing point of view. The window's been shut for pretty much most of the year. And I imagine that's one of the things that being part of the Discovery Group, it's one of the real advantage or benefits that you can bring to juniors. The fact that you can open doors, higher profile, and I think perhaps the Fireweed Metals financing that you mentioned really illustrates that. How important is it for juniors to be able to have the backing and support of a group like the Discovery Group?
I think it's mission critical. And I also think that that's a great example because the relationship with the Lundin family obviously went back to bankers that we knew and friendships that we had that brought them into Bluestone. And then many of those Bluestone relationships were strengthened. And so when Brandon had to have a conversation, we weren't an unknown group to them or the bankers. And really what's happening, with this week, with the big financing, then the banking community and the investor community then will be looking at the other companies in the group. They may be a little early stage for them, but the relationship will be strong enough that they'll look.
Okay, so as I mentioned, this year has been a difficult year for juniors from a financing point of view. Do you expect that continue into 2023? And if it does, are we going to see perhaps a mass extinction of some juniors?
Yeah, I don't think this market should be easy. It shouldn't be easy to raise money for an exploration project because if it is, a lot of really terrible projects will get financed and money will be burned, sent to money heaven. So I believe the investors should have a rigorous due diligence and treat these projects very carefully in terms of their investment decisions. So it should be hard and the cream will rise to the top and the good companies will get financed and the strong investors will win. And I think that's the best way to handle it. It is a meritocracy. And if you deliver results, you deserve the chance to pitch the investor at the next opportunity.
I think one of the interesting things that Brandon told us yesterday was the level of investment from the Lundins. The Lundins told him they really want to see what the potential of the McMillan Pass project in Yukon, Canada could be if money wasn't an issue.
Right.
And so he can now sort of drill and really go gangbusters on his exploration theses.
Yeah, it's that too. I mean, one of the things about this industry is it's generally starved for capital. So the thinking is much more short term. Most people in the exploration sector don't have a 10-year plan. That would be ridiculous because they're just raising money for 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or a year. And that's a fact that's basically a function of how little capital is in this space. So when you actually have a really strong backer and they say, don't tell me about your spring program, tell me about your next 5 spring programs and how can we increase the scale to reduce the cost per meter and really plan this strategically. Of course, their use of capital is better and the capital intensity goes down for the exploration, but really they kind of guarantee that the project can overcome certain bumps if there are bumps.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Now we're on the verge of going into 2023. What are some of the key things you're looking forward to next year from the Discovery Group and its companies?
Well, Valour has a palladium platinum project in Brazil and a uranium project in Canada. And we've been telling people for a long time that we're going to separate those assets and add value for our shareholders. So I hope in early 2023 that we'll have a plan that will be really taken very positively by investors. I think that there are several companies in the group that have very exciting exploration targets. And I think that we are known for a group that has exploration targets that add value for investors. So we're setting ourselves up for some spectacular drill results, we think, with companies like K2, with Kodiak Copper, Prospector, These are companies that are aggressively moving their projects forward and trying to deliver outsized gains to investors through exploration.
Okay, and I want to broaden that question out into the broader sort of metal space and the junior space. What are some of the things you think we'll see next year?
I think that gold projects will move back into favor. I think there's no way you can print so much money and not have an obvious increase in value for gold. And I think that the gold price will go bananas, and the good gold projects will be rewarded.
And copper?
I don't know what will happen with the global economy. I mean, it seems to me there's so much flux, but I do know that supply squeezes, perhaps labor unrest, logistical challenges, increases in consumption could really threaten a fragile supply, and that could create big squeezes in the base metals.
I think it's going to be an interesting year next year.
I hope so.
Excellent. Well, Jim Paterson, co-founder of the Discovery Group, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Paul. Great pleasure.
And stay tuned to Kitco Mining for more from Mine to Money London.
Kitco Mining's special coverage of Resourcing Tomorrow is brought to you by Discovery Group.